Hey everyone, Bryan, Zane here with my predictions for this weekend's Survivor Series pay-per-view. Of course, the big selling point this year is that it's Raw versus SmackDown versus NXT. They're finally added to the mix this year. And as you can see, I'm representing all the major brands with my attire today. Well, the red and blue here, obviously. The black and yellow is more like here and here on the belt, but you get the idea. Anyway, first match I want to talk about could possibly steal the show. You got AJ Styles versus Shinsuke Nakamura versus Roderick Strong, the top, mid-card champions across the three major brands. This one could absolutely steal the show. These guys are tremendous workhorses, and they all have that kind of Japanese, indie-rific kind of style as well. I think it's a great hybrid, great clash of styles, so to speak, between these three guys. It's tough to pick because, I don't want to count the Undisputed Era out in their respective matches because they were all in the War Games match the night before. They're going to be beaten down. Ideally, they're going to be selling their whatever wounds they sustained in that matchup. So I'm curious as to how their chances are going to be, how much they're going to be selling in this particular match the very next night. As far as who I think is going to win, I believe AJ is going to win. I have no particular reason, just a hunch I have that AJ is going to come out on top, but no matter who wins, I think the fans will be the winners because this match, like I said, could very well steal the show. Moving on to the tag team champions, you get the Viking Raiders on Raw, the New Day on SmackDown, and the Undisputed Era on NXT. Again, this also has the potential to be a tremendous match because we've all seen what the New Day can do. We know what the Undisputed Era can do. The Viking Raiders, I don't want people to sleep on these guys because they can also put on some tremendous work as well. And I think what makes the possibility of bigger guys versus smaller guys can make for some really exciting moments. And of course, Ivar is kind of the wild card too because he's incredibly agile for a man of his size. Hopefully we'll see some more of that kind of dueling agility that we've seen the last week or so between him and like Ricochet and people like that. So it should be really fun to watch. I think ultimately though the Undisputed Era is my pick to win this one. I think that the Undisputed Era, just in general, have been very well built and very well protected on NXT. And even though they're probably going to be selling their injuries, like I said, from War Games the previous night, I think maybe the strength in numbers game and the fact they'll be able to tag each other in and out, that will play to their advantage and their strengths. And so yeah, I believe that Undisputed Era will win the day here and score one for NXT. And then there's the women's champions, Becky, Bayley, Baszler, that's Raw, SmackDown, NXT respectively. Should be a really exciting match as well. I think the build for this match has mostly revolved around Becky versus Shayna and like the dynamic they have. And I think that Bayley has been kind of left out. They've been trying, I will give them credit. They've done their best to try and keep Bayley relevant in the build-up for this, but right now I still believe she's kind of the odd woman out. That being said though, I think because of that, she is going to end up winning this one. She's going to pull a fast one somehow and steal a victory, essentially. I think that will really help solidify her recent heel turn as of late, and I think it's going to be a big shocker. I think it's going to catch both Becky and Shayna by surprise. Bayley winning, to me, seems to be a great way to cap off that match. Adam Cole will defend the NXT Championship against the winner of the previous night's triple threat between Pete Dunne, Killian Dane, and Damian Priest. As I said in my War Games prediction on Wednesday Warfare, I believe that Pete Dunne is going to win that match, so I'm predicting it's going to be Cole versus Dunn for the championship on Sunday. Should be a really good match. If your style of wrestling is small guys who kick out of a million different things, this match is going to be for you, I would predict. That being said, I believe Adam Cole is going to win. As interesting as it would be to see the NXT title change hands on a big four instead of a takeover, I still think Cole's going to walk away the victor here, mostly because he's got a lot of unfinished business with, Tommaso Ciampa right now in NXT, so I don't see that being changed anytime soon. Would be cool if Pete Dunne won here because I think he deserves to be NXT champion after the work he put in as the UK champion for such a long time, but I don't think it's happening now. The Fiend, Bray Wyatt, defending the new Blue Universal Championship, I know, terrible pun, against Daniel Bryan. This should be a really good match, and the last time I think these guys had a match together was right before the Yes movement took off around WrestleMania 30 time when they fought at the Royal Rumble and in a singles match, and Bray won that one. So it's been a long time since we've seen these guys in an actual one-on-one contest. I'm really curious to see how things will be different. Obviously, things will be different in terms of Bray's style now that he is the Fiend, and Daniel's gone through a lot of maturation as a performer since that time, about 5 years ago, 5.5, close to 6 years ago now. So I'm really curious to see how this one's going to turn out. Should be another banger of a matchup. I do think that Bray Wyatt's going to win here because if Seth Rollins couldn't keep the Fiend down after a while, then what hope does Daniel Bryan have? Even though he is, mentally unstable, as he said on Miz TV last week, he's going to put up a valiant effort, but I believe Bray is is going to win and keep the championship. Meanwhile, Brock Lesnar defends the WWE Championship against Rey Mysterio in a no disqualification match. This one has really piqued my interest for a few reasons. One, I think the build to this one has slowly become one of my favorite builds of all the different matches we've seen. It's one of the only ones that's not like brand supremacy related, so I kind of like it. I'm more interested in that one as well. Also, we've seen in the past how well Lesnar performs against smaller guys and how when you've got that dynamic of the big versus the small, I think in Lesnar's case especially, it can really make for some very interesting, exciting matches, Kofi Kingston notwithstanding. What also makes the match interesting is that no DQ aspect, because it really does open up the possibility of, hey, maybe Rey can pull off a miracle and defeat Brock Lesnar by using weapons and different elements of ringside, and possibly his son Dominic having to come back and get some revenge against Lesnar. I think those are all possible. And I think it is easy just to bet the easy money on Lesnar because, you know, lulled what Lesnar wins, he conquers all and everything. And I don't know, it's really kind of a coin flip for me. I honestly don't really know who I want to win this one. And every time I usually pick someone to beat Brock Lesnar, I am often proven wrong. But you know what? I'm going to go with my gut again and say, fuck it, Rey Mysterio wins. He gets the chance with the championship that he didn't get all those years ago in 2011 when he won the belt on Raw and then lost it the same night to John Cena. Maybe give him a run with the belt and actually make it last this time. Now it's time for the Survivor Series matchups, and I think for myself and for many people as well, these could be the toughest ones to predict because as of this recording, the NXT teams have not been announced on either team, men's or women's. So, I mean, there's a lot of possibilities as to who could be on these teams. I think it's a little more clear cut on the women's side for NXT than the men's, but there's still just a lot of, a lot of question marks, like who do you pick going into these things because you have no idea how it's going to match up. Not to mention the sheer number of men and women who are in these matches also makes it difficult to try and pick, like, who's going to be a clear-cut winner. I do think for the women's team, though, my pick is Team Raw, simply by virtue of star power, because they've got Charlotte, who they, you know how much they've been pushing this woman for the last several years. And not to mention that, but also the women's tag team champions, Kairi Sane and Asuka, are going to be there as well. So I think that alone, I think, is going to put Team Raw over the edge against whoever they have against the women of NXT, and as well as SmackDown. And then with the men's Survivor Series match, equally tough to predict for the same reason as the women's. I think also with Raw and SmackDown, those two teams are so damn stacked and star-studded, it's really hard to bet against either one of them compared to whoever they produce for the men's team on NXT. I don't think Raw should win every single match. I believe SmackDown's going to win this one if I had to pick. I think, we consider, I think it was a year ago when Raw smoked SmackDown on Survivor Series and they never really followed up on it. I don't think it's obviously not going to be that one-sided this time. I think that SmackDown will get their big win back on the men's Survivor Series team matchup. I'm guessing maybe Roman Reigns is going to be the last man standing. That's kind of my prediction. And maybe he'll actually beat Randy Orton and snap Orton's sterling Survivor Series record as well. Time will tell, but that's kind of my pick. I think I'm just going to shot in the dark. SmackDown wins the men's match. But those are my picks for the show, folks. Let me know what you think is going to happen this Sunday, and I will see you on the other side with my Survivor Series review on Monday morning. I'm Bryan Zane, and I'll see you next time.